Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's going on?
I'm good. Just came back from a trip to London, watching two football matches at the Emirates and Stamford Bridge United, breaking the, I don't want to say hoodoo of always losing at the bridge, but it was a good trip. Can recommend. So I've had a pretty good week. Josh, how are you?
Just keeping busy. You know what I'm doing. Always the same
I know
stuff.
exactly what you're doing. Yeah. It's always about the grind, man. But speaking of busy, we're gonna be busy for the next. There's gonna be so much good stuff coming out. I don't even know where to begin. We just today actually had this bad boy come out. We're gonna talk about the Mercurial Dream Speed 2s. Obviously, we're also gonna discuss, as you saw in the thumbnail and the title, obviously the Air Zoom Mercurials, which we saw at the big Nike Innovation Summit for 2020. That I know a lot of people have been asking, what is the deal? And we're gonna try and basically tell you everything we know, which is very little, actually, to be honest. But also we're going to discuss what it means for football boots. So if you're hyped about that and you're already looking forward to the episode, leave us a thumbs up on the video. If you think it's cool. You can also leave a thumbs down if you're in a bad mood and you want to drag us down with you, but don't do it. No one really likes that. So be happy, leave us a thumbs up. And of course, also, if you have any questions for us that you want us to answer in the next couple of episodes, leave them in the comment section right down below. And I guess with that said, what are your first thoughts on the Mercurial Dream Speed Chapter 2, Two Girls Over Drinks and Action?
Very bright.
Okay.
It is.
That's your first thought.
Very first thought. Is that officially Volt Yellow that they've used?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I like it. I was a little bit surprised by two very large Nike swooshes on both the inside and outside. I'm looking at the pictures. I haven't seen them in person as we're making this yet, but I'm looking at the pictures and I'm almost trying to figure out, are they mismatched? Is there like a big swoosh on the one side and then the toe swoosh on the other side? But that's just how they are. I don't know. It's kind of weird to have two full-size Nike swooshes on one boot. We don't usually see that from Nike, I don't think.
Which is awesome.
It's cool. I think it looks really good, and I like the pattern that they've gone with. It's wild. It's certainly not for everybody, but I think that a lot of people will probably prefer it over the original Dream Speed.
I would also put myself in that bracket. Yes, I think this is, the original Dream Speed was good. I didn't hate it. I thought the whole blueprint idea was solid, but this is just like, this is extra. This is wild. This is the cherry on top. This is where it gets good, right? I really love this inner big inside swoosh style. It kind of takes inspiration for me from have you seen obviously the Vaporfly 4% that they did before the Vaporfly Next, the one that everyone's raving about right now.
I know what you're talking about.
But the Flyknit 4%, it has this big swoosh on the inside. Also on the Zoom Gravity running shoes, they have this it's a thing in running shoes and lifestyle shoes right now, having this big very bold Nike swoosh on the side. I love it. I think it looks so cool. Obviously, when you make a boot that is going to be worn by Ronaldo, there's a high chance that you're going to have that Superfly 5 style swoosh on it. It works well with a big swoosh on the inside. I think the whole thing being inspired apparently by the Vapor 3 R9 gold green Brazil colorway from the World Cup in 2006. I think it makes it a little bit extra special. And I don't know, I haven't seen the official story yet, but does this ring a bell to you, Josh? The whole color pattern on the heel of the boot, or the sole of the boot.
Honest answer, what I was thinking over the last minute is that it reminds me of that really colorful ice cream that I used to pick as a kid. It's the one that has like the little bit of red, the blue, and the yellow in it. That's what it kind of reminds me of. But now that you're saying what I think you're saying, the outside, that teal color reminds me a little bit of the chapter something 6 Superfly 6. I don't remember what chapter it was now. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The teal. It was teal, and then it had the Portugal CR7 logo on it.
Right.
which
Yeah.
name.
What was it called? That was chapter 6.
Was it chapter 6? The names.
That was the one that had the Army Air sphere on and stuff, the big C on it. Yeah, we're super good at names here at the Boot Nerds podcast, but there are so many names to remember that it was. What was it called?
It's impossible at this point.
And I actually hadn't even considered that. Maybe, they thought, okay, there's a bit of like the green, Brazil green in it, mixed with that teal thing. So maybe they thought, okay, here are two colors inspired by the two Ronaldos and their countries. So let's mix the teal and the green into that. That would actually be a pretty cool story. What I kind of thought was that obviously it's inspired by the pattern on the Vapor 3, but also that I thought I'd seen this like color shift before. So I went on Google and I actually looked it up. Apparently it's a part of the visible light color spectrum. So all the colors of the visible light is more or less in there. It's a big part of it, at least. No clue if that's the actual design inspiration, but it could be. would be fun if it was. I have no idea, as I also said in my playtest video, if it's something the designers thought about, but you can interpret it that way. It doesn't really have anything to do with light speed, which they also put on the boot. If you don't know what light speed is, it's apparently 299,792,458 meters per second, as per the boot.
That's quick.
That is very quick. New Balance also put it on one of their boots, if you remember. But
so didn't the 99 gram Addy Zero have something like that too, though?
They probably did, yeah. So
it's the speed of light. It was a speed of light or like speed of sound or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
Probably had that, yeah.
It's a very popular speed to put on your football boots.
It is. But I think it's great. It's bold, but it's great, and it's gonna fit right in with those, especially on Mbappe. And I think maybe are they gonna put Holland in it? I don't think officially, but maybe.
I have no idea.
Could work. It's just dope. It's just dope. And as you say, it could remind me of an ice cream I had when I was a kid. Filur, it was called.
What did you guys call it?
Filur.
Okay.
Very Danish.
See, this is one of those ice creams. That particular flavor is like called different things in different parts of the world and even different regions.
Yeah.
In Canada, the part where I'm from, it was called Super Kid.
Super Kid.
But I've heard some people call it Superman ice cream. I think that was in the US somewhere. I've heard a bunch of different names for it, but it's the same ice cream across the board, I'm pretty sure.
So it kind of has this like tequila sunrise kind of vibe to it, like bright yellow and orange that kind of grades together.
Yeah, it's a very refreshing looking football boot. I think that's fair to say.
Right. Okay. So where would you rate it? Where would you rate it out of all the current Mercurial colorways? Obviously, it also comes as a Superfly, by the way.
Oh, geez. I'm going to give this one a strong 8.5 out of 10.
Right.
I think it's a good colorway.
If they had gone with the inside, the red, the orange thing, and the big swoosh on the outside, I would be a 9.5. But I think I'm also going to go with the 8.5. It's solid looking, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
So very cool. Obviously, Ronaldo, Mbappe, and Sam Kerr from Chelsea. I like it. Solid. Get it on Unisport if you want to be in that club. Shameless plug. What else is new is this whole Air Zoom Mercurial thing, which I think we all saw when it just dropped out of nowhere, which is something I really like in these days of constant leaks and stuff being everywhere before it's actually officially launched. It was very refreshing to see Nike just dropping something and everyone just going, "What is this?" And it looks really futuristic, and it's something that I think right now it seems like a concept boot. But it's refreshing to see the Nike just doing something completely else. To break it down, what we can read at least from the press release, which is all we can base our knowledge on the boot from at this moment, really, is that Nike have kind of looked at their traditional Air Zoom elements, which has been set in the world back in the day to give you more padding. Basically, more comfort, and they tried to see how they could tune it into giving you a more responsive football boot. So they and if I understand this correctly, basically they've hollowed out their tooling. So it's basically just the tooling. Then they have a very, very thin but very it's not so spongy. What is it? It's snappy. A snappy Air Zoom pod on top. And then they have the sock liner and that's it. So your foot is basically sitting on top of this 4.5 millimeter Air Zoom pod that's supposed to give you a brilliant energy return instead of actually doing what an Air Zoom pod normally does, which is to cushion your feet. Very interesting. And then, of course, they have this whole fly print upper, which is a 3D printed upper that's supposed to be lighter and thinner and basically more breathable than what they've done ever before. So very interesting, but also, does it work? What do you think?
That's the thing. I'm very curious about this because Nike's not one, like they haven't really had too many concept football boots over the years. At least I can't remember any of them. Like it's just not like them to produce a product and then not eventually release it to the public. Even the craziest stuff that they've shown eventually got some kind of a release. So I fully believe that this is not a concept and this is a product you'll be able to buy one day. Whether it'll be a regular release or a limited thing, who knows?
Like concepts that have been released eventually. What are you thinking?
Like I'm thinking of like Nike's done those like self-lacing things. Honestly,
so
I didn't think that those were going to be real products, but they ended up selling them. Granted, they were like $400 or $500, but you could actually buy it if you really wanted it, right?
True, yeah.
So they do things like this. This seems like a real product to me, but the fact that they've only showed one single angle leads me to believe that it's not as far along as Nike maybe wants us to think. Because we were both kind of before this, we were reading through this press release, right? And there's not very many details, right? They talk about how some of the zoom unit is actually visible on the underside of the boot, and they leave out a lot of important information, right? It's weird.
Yes.
I think that they're trying to capitalize on the hype around the Air Zoom tech right now, right? Because I don't know how familiar you are with the whole running shoe thing. They had a certain model got banned. Some guy set a record.
Yeah.
Wearing Nike's running shoes. I don't know if it was several guys.
Yeah, Kipchoge wore this also concept Vaporfly. Was it called the Zoom Vaporfly that they then revealed publicly? Now it might drop actually for the Olympics, as I understood it. Didn't read up on it properly, but yeah, it has this new innovative Zoom Air tech in the forefoot, and then obviously the Zoom X foam in the heel, which is. Have you ever worn any of these Vaporfly shoes?
Never.
Honestly, mate, go and get it. It is ridiculous. I understand why people are losing their minds over it. It gives you this really. It's not spongy as Boost would be or React, where it's like it's like a firm sponginess, but it's really super soft. But then it's also bouncy, so you really feel like when you walk that you're constantly being pushed on your toes. And then when you start running, it really you I don't know if it's just the mental side of it, but I felt like I was being pushed forwards instead of just being pushed straight back up, if you know what I mean. So there was some sort of forward propelling moment, if that's the way you say it in English. It kind of felt like the shoe was actively pushing me and pushing my body to lean forward, and thus to make it easier to accelerate. There was more spring in my step.
It's legitimately returning energy.
It feels that way.
That's what's coming into question here. And I've actually been reading about this almost every day for the last 2 weeks because it is intriguing, because we talk about there really isn't any shoe in any sport that you can buy that's going to put you at an advantage. But this is the first time in a while that I can think of some significant controversy, which is incredible marketing for Nike. And I'm sure that the product that you're talking about and that got banned is a fantastic product that does have some kind of benefit as far as performance is concerned. I mean, they're spending all this money on R&D for this type of stuff. I hope eventually the shoes would get better. But what has happened now is this was not the only thing that Nike revealed at this innovation summit, right? They revealed a new version of that shoe that got banned that I believe is now officially approved for the Olympics. And whatever basically the FIFA of running, basically, is my understanding. I'm not exactly sure what they're called. They've basically made it so that every single shoe manufacturer has to submit their running shoe models that are going to be available to Olympic runners prior to the Olympics by a certain date to actually be pre-approved to be used.
Yep.
So you're not going to be able to just show up and just have this new experimental model.
Exactly. And they have to have been, on the market for, was it 3 months? So they have been available for everyone to buy. They can only have like one layer on one, plate of the same material, i.e. carbon fiber in this case. There are all these restrictions, which is also funny. So I don't think actually they can use the Zoom Vaporfly as it is right now because it has 3 carbon fiber plates inside.
What's my understanding is you cannot have more than what they're calling a 40 millimeter stack.
Okay.
Which I think has something to do with the thickness of the foam. So this new model that Nike has shown is 39.5 millimeters. So it's technically just allowed. But this is where I think that people are maybe getting a little bit overhyped on this Air Zoom Mercurial thing. Because we're talking about, in order for this technology to be advantageous in terms of energy return for running, we're talking about an excess of 40 millimeters in thickness.
Yep.
That's huge. Like that's just not possible. If you put a 40 millimeter insole in a football boot, you can no longer fit your foot inside of the football boot.
No. And also, you're going to lose every last bit of stability because there's going to be so much rollover because that's not going to work, obviously. And it's like a little less than a tenth of the thickness, the Air Zoom pod in the new Mercurial, or the concept boot, let's put it like that. What I really find intriguing is how they took cushioning technology and made it into what they claim is now a more responsive, snappy technology. That's like taking Well,
no, Jay, I think you're a little bit mistaken on that because I think that in football boots, historically, Zoom Air has been marketed as a cushion element.
Exactly.
But in basketball shoes and running shoes and training models, it's been a cushion/response element, right?
Oh, it has. Okay.
Lately it's been much more of a response type element than it has been a cushion. But you're right. In football boots, it's always been marketed as like, this is going to give you some extra cushion.
Yeah. Okay. That's what happens when you become too narrow-minded into one sport technology, I guess.
Well, Nike's just like, it's such a huge scope of products that they have, right? So I don't know. I don't play basketball, but I'm very fascinated by basketball shoes for whatever reason. Just because there's the variety. Like you look across the board at what Nike currently offers, and it's just like so many different variations of what is supposed to be an ideal product. I find that very interesting. I kind of miss that about football boots. I think what they're doing here with this Air Zoom Mercurial has the potential to feel very unique, but I don't think when you look at like these Olympic runners, what they do is like, their technique is perfect. Like they're doing consistently the same exact stride, the same exact step every single time. So if they legitimately have a product like whatever this Nike shoe is called, I can't remember, that's going to give them some kind of energy return, they can train in such a way and modify their stride to have that maximum energy return with every single step they take. When you're talking about a sport like football, you're not consistently running in a straight line and with the same size stride. You're changing direction, you're sprinting, you're stopping, you're jumping. Like I'm not sure that there's any kind of energy return element that's legitimately going to provide an advantage in this type of environment. You get what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying. And what I could be a little bit worried about on Nike's behalf is if this is going to turn into another, Ace Pure Control Boost kind of thing. Obviously, I can see why it would turn out to actually work better because the boost didn't really do anything because the layer was so thin, right? But also thinking that in football, when you talk speed, then responsiveness is nice. It's good to have something propelling you forward, giving you an energy return. But also, is it going to negatively affect what is also a central aspect of speed, which is deceleration, right? Braking, basically. Because, if you can brake quickly, you can also change direction faster, which means that you're quicker to basically change direction. You're going to be more agile, is what I'm going to try and say. So is that, since you don't run in a straight line all the time, how much you're actually going to benefit from this? Then you can turn around and argue, okay, every time you have to accelerate from, braking. You have to accelerate, go in a different direction. The added energy return there would be beneficial, but I just don't, I need to see some actual proof or, feel it myself. Is there a benefit or at least a mental benefit here? Because otherwise, it sounds cool, but I just don't know if it's going to work.
I like the idea of, I think some of the new basketball shoes that have Zoom Air, I don't know what kind of access you have over there, but if you can go and try on a Nike KD12, it's got a really unique sensation with a boost system that I think is going to be somewhat similar to what's featured in this football boot, right? But again, the dynamic changes so much when you have a thick layer of foam underneath the boost, right?
Yeah.
But I think the idea of having that little bit of a springiness sensation under your foot, I think that can be really unique and really interesting. What Nike has really tiptoed around, though, in this press release is they've implied, at least when talking about the upper, that this fly print material is significantly lighter than any other upper material they've done. But the Zoom Air unit itself, which is full length heel to toe, that's never been a particularly lightweight thing from the Nike brand. So I think being that they have branded this as a Mercurial, I'm curious to see what the weight of this product will actually end up being.
And also, what is the tooling gonna look like? Like what are we running with here? Have they taken a Vapor 11 tooling and then carved it out basically? And what's that gonna be like? I think it's really interesting what we saw at the some of the images coming out of the new kits where the players actually wore the Air Zoom Mercurials in white or translucent or whatever you want to call it. They look really interesting, but you couldn't really see what was going on with the tooling. And I'd be very interested to see that because obviously if they want to brand it as a type of Mercurial, they want to focus on acceleration and speed. That there are a lot of question marks for me on whether this is a good idea or is just made to do some marketing and
Yeah.
Because with the Flyknit Ultra, I know it wasn't a concept boot as per se because they sold it, but it also, it showed us something that we could see the benefit of with the added grip on the ball, the added stability you got in the upper. I just don't know if this is a bit more of if it's actually a gimmick or if it's something that will give us a benefit and if this is the direction they want to go in the future.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm hesitant to complain about a product like this because I think this, my impression was this should be the next Superfly because it's crazy and it's never been done before and it's introducing all this new tech in one boot, right? Because they could have just taken the current Mercurial upper and slapped on this bottom with the Zoom Air tech and I think people would be pretty happy and excited to try that. But they decided let's do this fly print thing as well, which is another very new technology from Nike that I don't know, at this point, just looking at these boots and even looking at the pictures of those people, just the models wearing the boots, I didn't love how the upper appeared to wrap their feet. It just didn't have that super close to the foot wrap. And again, this could just be an issue of sizing or something like that. Really difficult to say based on pictures. But even looking at this boot, I was kind of surprised to see Flywire back because we haven't really seen that on Mercurials in a bit.
That is exciting, yeah.
And that tells me that this is such a thin upper that it just doesn't have the structure on its own. It needs some kind of extra structure element, which is kind of the tech that they're running with the current Mercurial upper. And the name escapes me. What are they calling it on the, what's the structure element for the current Mercurial in the Flyknit?
The high tenacity.
High tenacity irons. That's what it is. This also doesn't have a one-piece upper by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for, again, a Mercurial model that they've all been one-piece uppers for a little while now.
True, but I'm also wondering if this is just, the Mercurial is to familiarize, to make it seem and feel familiar. And then if, it doesn't really smell like Mercurial to me other than the fact that they tell us it is a boot based around speed. Honestly, I thought when I saw this for the first time that it was, they were actually developing an American football cleat that they then realized, okay, this could turn into a football boot, and it kind of has that vibe. So I'm also interested to see what the support in the upper is going to be like. With that said, 3D printed uppers, if they can really, if they can use that technology to make something similar to what they've done with knit, I see that as the future. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it makes sense if they can get. I would imagine the machine that makes this upper is ridiculously expensive, and I'd be curious to know how long it actually takes them to print an upper like this.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's a issue when you're talking about mass producing a product like this. It just seems like there's so much new happening. It's very complex. But again, circle back to like Superfly 1. That's kind of the concept that I view with what they've done here, right? Where there's just so many new technologies, and the curiosity level, especially given the hype around the running shoe thing, is going to be huge. So I don't know. I'm very excited to try it. I think we probably will see some kind of a release for this boot this year. What do you think?
Honestly, man, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either, if they, pull a rabbit out of the hat again on this. But I don't know. It just feels a little bit like let's leverage the hype of the running shoe right now. So I would be extremely excited to actually try it if they make it my size, Flyknit Ultra. but I'm a little hesitant in getting my hopes up, because it could mean just getting disappointed, because we're never gonna see it, and then there will be some athletes wearing it for 2 matches, just like the Primeknit Zambas we saw back in 2013 from Adidas. Which kind of also set the tone, but it wasn't really, that good. This kind of feels like the same, so let's see what happens. It could really work, but it could also just be something to generate hype and leverage what has been going on with the Vaporfly.
Yeah, so, it has the potential to be just more gimmicky than good.
Exactly, but the whole full length Zoom AirPod, if it has that responsive sensation, it is thin, it is, snappy. I mean, sign me up. I'm down to try it, but I also reserve the right to be a little bit skeptical. Let's just,
what we should also say, and I mean, at least this is my opinion. I don't know yours, but you've worn a lot of those older Nike boots with Zoom in the heel, Zoom in the forefoot.
Yes.
If you didn't know it was there, would you know it was there?
Absolutely not.
Right? So that's kind of my thing. That's why I'm so skeptical of this, is like we've had Zoom in the heel as a cushion or response element, whatever you want to call it. And unless you took the insole out, you would probably never know it was there.
No. On the other hand, this time the sock liner sits directly on top of it. So there has to be some sort of a different sensation, but let's see. I mean, but I like the idea about this being the next Superfly, because it's something new, and it's bold, and it's different. And look, we've been complaining so much about the Superfly name. This could actually be I wouldn't necessarily agree that this is what I would go with as a Superfly, but who knows?
Yeah,
it's not the worst idea.
Nike's presenting this. We've had how many podcast episodes where we've talked about or been asked about what the next big thing in football boots is?
Yeah.
Nike is kind of presenting this, whether it's the fly print or the Zoom tech or both in combination, as the next big thing. That's what they're telling us this is. Does it have that potential? I guess it's possible. I'm a little bit skeptical at this point in time, but if it works as Nike is claiming that it can work, then this is potentially the next big thing in football boots.
And if anything, time has taught us anything, it is to stand up and listen, at least as the minimum thing. When Nike come out and say, okay, this is the next big thing, you have to listen. So let's see what the future brings. I'm excited, but also a little bit resigned to the Zoom Mercurial not being as cool as it has the potential to be. But I hope it is going to change football in some way, one way or the other. It would be like Nike to do that. But what do you guys think about this whole new concept boot? Are we going to see it? Who's going to wear it? When can we buy it? What's the deal going to be? Let us know your thoughts and ideas and guesses in the comment section right down below, which is also going to be the center of attention for the next piece of the podcast, because Josh, you have gathered some magnificent questions from all our lovely listeners and viewers out there. Take it away.
I have a couple. So question number 1 is here from Gong153. He says, this is the question of the month for you guys. Okay. What is the best way to clean the upper of the new Predator without damaging the demon skin rubber elements?
That's a brilliant question.
I've seen this question a few times already. I figured we'd address it. What do you think?
So I would basically take, yeah, like you can buy these, I'm going to say Jason Mark, like these sneaker brushes that you can get with like a rough hairs, like harder hairs. And you can get the softer ones, like the light hairs. It's too far for me to go get a brush, but you can basically buy two types of hardnesses. Is that a word? Anyway.
Whatever.
Buy the soft one. Because the hard one might be a little bit too rough on the spikes. I don't think they're gonna fall off, but better safe than sorry. So take the soft one, use a bit, lukewarm water, and that should do the most of the trick.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest like a soft bristle toothbrush. That's kind of like that's the cheapest and easiest way. Everyone has access to a toothbrush.
True.
Instead of throwing out your old one, just keep it and use it to clean your boots, and that should do the job. You're not going to hurt your boots with the toothbrush. I don't.
Exactly. Think. That's also a very good point. But either that or a soft sneaker brush is gonna work wonders. And you can use Jason Mark. I like sneaker cleaner as well. That is also nice. Then if the knit has gotten dirty, use that. It works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Second question here from David Ramirez. He asks, "Hey Jürgen and Klopp."
Hi, Dave.
How different do you guys think the football boot world would be had Adi, Puma, Diadora, etc. came out with the first successful synthetic boot instead of Nike?
Oh, wow. I think obviously the landscape would have changed, but I somehow still believe that with what Nike had going for them back in the day, they would still be a superpower in boots. They would have found something else to do. When we talk the first successful synthetic boot, what would you consider as that? Would it be the first Mercurial R9 that had a synthetic leather, or should we talk the Match Mercurial, or going all the way to the Vapor One?
For me, honestly, I know we look back on especially that original R9 Mercurial as like a historic moment in football boot history, and it is. But I don't think at the time, and granted I wasn't really old enough to really judge how that impacted the football boot market, although there would have been a lot less hype at that point in time. Just football boots, I think, were less interesting then, you could argue. I think it's that first Vapor. That really, I think,
yeah.
Like you look, that boot still looks modern. And that, I think, changed the landscape of like, okay, we have all these football boots that look like a Copa and some of these early Predators, and they're chunky and bulky and heavily padded. And then you have this spaceship of a Mercurial boot that just, okay, there is so much more that we can do with football boots than what we've seen so far.
Yes.
So I really think that that's where Nike won the battle in terms of synthetics.
But what if it had been Diadora? Would Diadora then have been the big hitters, and would Nike have been non-existent basically?
I would love to say that Diadora could be a huge brand in the football boot industry now, but I think that Nike as a brand, it's not just football boots that I don't want to say dominated, but they're definitely a superpower in the football boot world. But that's the case with almost every sport that they're in.
But that's because they are amazing storytellers. They can sell you sand in Sahara, right? Apart from having great products, they're also insanely good at marketing. Like the whole branding, the whole DNA in terms of branding and telling stories is second to none. So I don't think, yes, it would have meant something, but if we look at the whole era where, after the Mercurial really took off, if we look at the era of like 2004, 2005, 2006, where Lotto came out and made some really, really good alternatives to the Mercurial in the Lotto Giro Pluses, fantastic speed boots. Synthetic was almost as thin. It was arguably a little bit softer than the Vapor 2s and the Vapor 3s at that point. It was a fantastic speed boot. It was cheaper as well, but it just didn't have the marketing power, the machine behind it. And it just, so I think it would have looked extremely different, but I still think Nike would have been a dominating or a force to be reckoned with in the market, because they were always going to win once they got that machine going.
Yeah, and you're right. You're 100% right. Nike is a marketing machine, because I think, again, looking back, you can make the argument that it wasn't until Vapor 8 until we really got a great Mercurial model, right? Because I guess Vapor 1 and 2, right? Vapor 1 and 2 were okay. They had their issues as far as discomfort is concerned.
Yes. But at the time, you kind of just had to live with it. I would still consider the Vapor 1, 2, 3s great Mercurials. Vapor 4s were all right. 4s were good. 5, disaster. 6, disaster. 7, 8, great again. But
Jay, I think it was a case of them they were first, and there was no alternative to something that looked like a Mercurial. True. And the only time we saw a decline in market share for the Mercurial line throughout its entire history was in 2010, when you had the Superfly 2 and the Vapor 6, which were, I would say, both fairly unextraordinary football boots, even at the time. Mm. Some cool tech in them. But then F50 Adizero came out. It was lighter, it was thinner, it was way more comfortable, and people jumped ship.
But that's exactly my point, that even though it would have been Diadora or Adidas or Puma coming out with the first really successful, basically, if they had released the Mercurial Vapor 1, Nike would have found another way. It might have taken them a few more years, but if you make a significant enough boot, then people will stand up and listen. And I think with the power they have, with the storytelling they have, if the product then had been big enough of an innovation, they would have eventually gotten there. So I don't see it changing the landscape of the boot market too much. Maybe if it had been Adidas, yes, because then you would have like this hegemon of just like this superpower with the Predator, with the Merc. That would have been really difficult to compete with, but that's how it goes. Then it would perhaps have been Mizuno coming into, fight them with the Morelias and, fighting the Copas. And I don't know. Anything could have happened.
Yeah. The global recognition of Nike is hard to, I think maybe if Addy came up with the Mercurial concept, then maybe Nike wouldn't be as big in football.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, the Mercurial really defined Nike as a football boot brand, right? That was, it helped. They were cool back then, but they really, it propelled them into an everyman's brand. Everyone knew about Nike. Everyone had a relationship with their product in one way. They had an opinion on their product, right? And that was, they sparked conversation, just like Adi did with the Adizero and the laceless Pure Controls. And, so it would be different, but I still think Nike would have been okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Great question.
One last question, and it's a pretty good one as well. This is from, this is a name, Vojislav Marjanovic. I think that's how you say that.
Vojislav Marjanovic.
That's what I'm going with. Do you guys think that in the future, brands will offer custom fit for the boots, not only for pros, but for everyone?
No.
Maybe they can design some kind of an app for the phone that scans your foot. Love the podcast. Watch every episode.
Thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. And it's a question I've been asking myself ever since I got into football boots, basically. So for many, many years. And the more I've seen of the industry, the more certain I've been or become that it's a resounding no. It's just not a good business model, because you want to be able to make one boot. You want to be able to make it, keep costs down, keep manufacturing costs down, and that is by making the same thing as many times as you can. Every time you need to open up a size, it's hella expensive, because you need to make basically the tooling, aka the outsole, in a different size. It's very, very expensive. You wouldn't even believe how expensive it is. And so the more custom options you need, the more you need to go in and create that specific product. There's a reason Nike ID is more expensive, because you need to go in and tailor make every single product. And I don't think it's worth the hassle for the brands, however much they might make on it. The whole custom making boots for players, it's got to be ridiculously expensive, and scaling that to like a general consumer level, I don't see it happening. This is just my opinion. I don't know if you agree or not, but where are you on this?
No, I think you're right. I think from a business perspective, the cost of made to order custom fitted football boots, forget about custom options, which I think ideally a lot of people would want as well, but just to do a custom last would be monumentally expensive. And let's consider that a top end football boot is between $200 and $300 already. Honestly, to have a department dedicated to making custom variations, I would think that the boots would have to be double the price. I think you're looking at $500 to $600 football boot now if you want a custom one.
Yeah,
which is a ton of money, and I'm sure there'd be plenty of people that'd be willing to buy that.
Absolutely.
But would it be enough to justify like basically creating a completely new division of your company and hope that long term this is going to be a popular product? It's very difficult to say.
I think,
I don't know.
But we even see it with Mizuno, right? They had all these easy ordering system on the Mercurial where you could go in and you could say, okay, I want the Mercurial 2s, but I want them with this stitching pattern. I want them with this with or without the tongue. I want them in this colorway. So you could kind of customize your boot from different predetermined options, for lack of a better way of explaining it. And they've dropped it. Like, I don't know why they dropped it, but probably because it didn't make sense business-wise. That's the only explanation I have. And it's just, there's so many factors you need to think about. And, custom lasting, oh my God, that sounds like absolute chaos. It would be fantastic as a consumer to have that, but looking at it from a manufacturing point of view, that's a nightmare. It would be. I remember back in the day there was this option that Puma offered. I think through some of the wrong guys. But you could buy this experience where you could come and have your custom made Puma boot. I think it was a Construct or something like that, and it was like 15,000. It's like 2,000 euros.
Jeez.
2,000 euros for like a pair of, I know, and it's an experience and yada yada, but that's man, that ain't on.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I never got to go. This would have been such a cool thing, but I remember just reading about them in forums. But it was the Nike Mercurial Vapor 4.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was Nike Town London.
Yeah.
That you could go to
and get
this kangaroo leather version of the boot in either white with a black swoosh or black with a white swoosh. Yep. And like every once in a while, one would pop up on eBay and it'd just be this ridiculous price.
Yes.
But it was like, to me, that was the coolest thing. I think you had to actually go there, and I don't remember if they fit the boots to you or if they just had pairs that you could buy there, but it was something along the lines of like a custom tailor-made service, right?
Yeah.
But you could only get it at that store.
It was basically their Nike ID service that was more premium at that store. And I remember hearing that you could go there and you could actually do the boot and, try it on in your size, but they wouldn't custom fit it to your foot because that would mean making a custom last for you, and that would be very expensive. And then you would have to stretchy boot. I don't think that was the case, but you just went there, you built the boot there in store, and then you got it. Just like a normal Nike ID product.
At the same time though, Jay, I have to be honest, I hate talking about hockey on this podcast, but I have to.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You love it. Every single opportunity, you just slide it in.
Okay, but custom hockey skates are a popular thing now. And at one point, it was like one single brand was doing them, and it was like a super special order, hassle to get them. Now, all the main brands, you can order a custom skate. And just like he's suggesting in the question, it's basically an app that they have within certain hockey stores. Most of the big ones have it, and it scans your feet. And with that scan, they basically, the way a lot of hockey skates are made now is they're just composite shells. So you end up with this flat shell and they just kind of press it around a mold. So they obviously have the technology to, based on that scan, whether they 3D print a custom last of your ankle area, because that's really the part that ends up being custom, and they press the skate around that. Given the 3D printing technology seemingly getting better and better, I don't necessarily think that it's unrealistic to say that you couldn't one day go to your Nike store, your local Nike store, they scan your foot, and then with those scans somehow create a custom last. It would still be a premium service, and I'm sure it would cost a lot of money. But I think it's doable at some point.
It's definitely doable, but I think money talks, and that means I would be very, gonna go out on a limb here. I would be very surprised to see it.
Yeah, I would too. I just think it's such a look. If they're going after as much of the market as possible, you're talking about like 0.1% of the football boot market would be interested in the service. And that's just not, I don't think that's appealing to any of the big brands.
Nah, I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it, man. I'd like to be proven wrong because I'd really, really love to have a custom-made boot for my foot. That's like the dream, right? Go to Athlete Services in Herzogenaurach with Adidas and just like get the full treatment. That's the dream. But really cool. I think I would never, if I'm honest, I wouldn't want to pay like 2,000 euros to have that experience. It's just, I don't want it that much. So they'd have to, be able to scale it at a price that was reasonable to most people. And tell me if you agree, but I just don't see it happening.
No, I highly, highly doubt it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is.
It's a bit of a bummer to end the episode on. Basically, we've talked about new technology and all that stuff, and we're just like, yeah. The coolest thing is that it's not going to happen. So let's rejoice about the fact that the new Mercurial Dream Speed Chapter 2s are really, really dope. We both like them. If we are to do a little bit of a shameless plug, you can go and buy them on unisportstore.com. That would be fantastic. Go and support the OGs, the real guys, the boot nerds and all that stuff. And speaking of supporting the boot nerds, you can go and leave a little cheeky thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed the content, want to see more of it in the future. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can leave it in the comment section right down below. And now that we are at the topic of supporting, you can go support Josh by subscribing to his channel right over there. Also, maybe go check out Car Problems. It's pretty wicked. You can go see what we're up to at your friendly neighborhood boot pushers over at Unisport Store by clicking the green bubble here. And finally, go subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast to get a weekly ding, at least if you hit the notifications bell button every single week when we drop a new episode. And with that, unless Josh has further comments, I've been JayMike and I approve this message. Bye-bye.
No further comment from me. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.